Today I have two goals in mind. One, I want to learn how to draw a horse. Two, I want to know how to figure out how to do digital screen tones for mangas. And why do I want to do this? It's because I'm applying to some manga competitions and some of my story ideas need me to make a horse in them. And also buying manga screen tones or just screen tones in general is not cheap. So doing them digitally could help a lot with money. But now, anyways, into the horse stuff. What I started out with is first doing a little horse by looking at a reference and just drawing it. This was just my base. I was not really paying attention to the actual anatomy. I was just kind of shaping it out real quick and then drawing it. Then I said, fuck it, let's go to the face. So I started trying to figure out the anatomy of the face and the shapes. I ended up coming with a circle is for the main head part, a smaller circle for those thick ass jawbones, and then a little rectangle for the snout or whatever you call it. And then I just practiced filling in the details there, looking at a couple different horse pictures from a couple different angles. And that started helping me just get a general idea for them. You can see in these pictures right here. Now, on to the next page, I started trying to figure out the general body of the horse. For the body of the horse, I used two circles attached by a cylinder in the middle, and the cylinder kind of started at the halfway point in between the two circles. And then from the different angles, you just kind of arrange them differently and just see how the cylinder contracts and this and that for different perspectives. And I cut it off at the limbs to just mainly focus on the torso. And I did a little bit of looking into the anatomy, and when I say looking into it, I didn't actually like look at the muscles of the horse. I was just looking at the horse and seeing how the muscles look from the outside. Would figuring them out on the inside help? Probably. But for now, I was just trying to get the basic idea of the shapes of a horse and the basics of how their muscles look from the outside. So once I got the head and I got the horses, and then the legs aren't too complicated, so I kind of just practiced the legs while I drew the full horse pictures. So here I was practicing drawing people on a horse because, people ride horses when they use horses. If, makes sense. And also someone asked me to do a drawing with something riding a horse. So if you know, you know, but I was practicing a little for that too. But now onto the actual picture. So I'll put the reference I used here. It's a picture of Thorfinn riding a horse, classic Thorfinn from Vinland Saga. And here is when I wanted to try to combine everything and really focus on how this author drew the horse and the muscles and how he shaded them, while also applying my techniques of shapes and stuff for figuring out how to actually form the horse. Now in the sketch, I take that back. I think I did a pretty good job of it. I will say there are some big problems though. I feel like the horse face is too big for the horse body, but maybe not. Maybe I just need to look at more horses and familiar myself with that, draw a little more. And then I also drew Thorfinn way too big compared to the horse. The dude is like as big as the horse if you kind of look at it. And he's a kid, so realistically, even an adult is usually not as big as a horse, maybe a small horse, but he's a kid, so there's no way his ass is as big as a horse. But anyways, the horse itself, not too bad. Obviously, with more practice, I can refine my mistakes with this horse, figure out how to better kind of give it more volume. It feels like a skinny horse when it should be, based on the reference at least, it should be a little more of a bulky horse. And I also need to get my kind of perspectives right on how people compare to the size of a horse. But then I just inked that. And inking, I kind of followed what the guy did. I'm forgetting the author's name, but the Vinland Saga guy, I just followed how he inked the horse, just getting a little bit of idea of how he did the muscles there. Then once I did that, it's time for the digital screen tone. So I scanned that shit, put it up into Photoshop, and basically I just started doing screen tones digitally and seeing how that works. Now I did do it on a laptop, so I had to do this all on a trackpad. A little bit of a a pain, but it's not the worst. It took like 20 something minutes. It's easy to do this because you can also control the screen tones. You can make them yourself. So you can get whatever gray gradient you want or whatever dot thickness you want, which is kind of nice to have. So that is how I did all those digital screen tones and this and that. Overall, the whole picture as a whole, obviously it could use some work, but it's not a bad start for drawing a horse for basically the first time with some practice beforehand. But it's not a bad horse. It could be improved. There's definitely some fixes that could be made in the sizes of the different horse parts compared to each other, the sizes of a human compared to a horse, and just my line confidence in general too. Some of the lines look a little wavy. Overall though, not bad. Happy with this as a first try. So I think I got nothing left to say for this. Bam.